With Mother's Day just around the corner, I know that I want to, and I'm sure many of you also want to give Mom a card. And I'll be honest, the few trips that I've made to some of the larger big box stores and some of the higher end grocery stores, looking at the cards, I mean, they're cute, but for $8–10, I don't know. So of course we wanted to put something together that had a wow factor, but wasn't very difficult to assemble. And as far as supplies, was very cost effective. So that's what we have for you today. We've got a beautiful pop-up card. It's a little bouquet of flowers that open up in the center. And we even have a caption that is all done in paper. So let's take a look at what we have here. We're just going to begin by putting together piece by piece here, getting all the parts ready and then putting it all together in the end. So let's start with our little caption for the front. The caption is made up of these three pieces and as well as this piece here. But we've made it so that you can cut it out and you maintain all of the letters and you don't have to worry about well, you don't have to worry about stamping or anything like that if you don't want. You can always black this out and use a stamp if you'd prefer. But anyway, you'll notice that this piece has a series of cuts in it. You want to just make sure that you rotate it until all the little cutouts are in their appropriate locations so that it says Happy Mother's Day and not something like that where you have some stray cuts in random places. So just make sure that all the little cutouts for the A's and the P's and the Y's are in the appropriate location. And then we can go ahead and flip this around and get our glue on the back of this and get that glued into place. Okay. So let's start there and let's try to work somewhat quickly and then maybe just use a little dot method to get into the little nooks and crannies here so that you don't have any little areas peeling or pulling away after we get this glued down. Okay, so it kind of helps to remember the orientation and the actual scalloped portions on the perimeter of this piece will match up nicely, so you really can't mess that up. Okay, so let's push that down. And I did ink this, the white, in a nice lavender to kind of give that a nice little dimensional look. Okay, and then we're going to take this and flip it around and glue this to our white piece. Okay, and that's going to make sure that the little letters show through nicely for us in white. So just match that up nicely. There we go, and then push that down. Okay. And then we're going to take and glue this onto this piece here, and we're just going to center that nicely, like so. Okay, so that looks really cool. Don't have to worry about getting a stamp and messing that up if you don't stamp it right. I'll admit I'm not the best when it comes to working with stamps. If I can do it with paper, I would much prefer to do so. All right, so we'll get that centered like that and push that down. Okay, so step one is done. You can put that off to the side, let that set, and I'll just go over some of the other pieces that don't necessarily need any assembly. I'll just kind of go over what I did with them. So that's done. These are the two exterior panels, and this is just I think this is Echo Park, and I just took some pink ink and ran it around the perimeter. These two pieces are for the inside, and this is just white AC cardstock. You can see the cute little heart shape there, and I ran some turquoise ink on the perimeter of that. This is our little vase, I guess you can call it, and I just went ahead and folded this at the score marks and inked the edges of, well, these edges here and then these little flaps here as well. Okay, so we don't really need to do anything with this other than to just make sure that we have it inked and folded. And again, the inking is completely optional. We have these two pieces here, And these are going to go inside as well. I hit these with a little bit of pink ink, and that just leaves our card base. Now you'll notice that the card base itself doesn't have any score marks. I went ahead and just folded this manually, used a little dowel to create my crease, just fold it in half. Very simple. So we'll get that ready to go. And then we have the floral elements here. I hit these with some ink as well. And then we have the other pop-up element here. I hit this with a little bit of turquoise and folded these leaves in. And then we're going to fold these as well. One of these are the two pop-up elements here. One's going to be folded out, one's going to be folded in, and we'll get to that once we cross that bridge. But what we can do at this point is prepare these little inserts. Okay, so this is how they're going to be inserted. We're going to actually glue these to the inside of this piece here, but we want to put the flowers on first. Okay, so these two larger flowers like this that have a kind of a non-circle here in the middle are going to go in these two sections here. So let's get those glued in place. And again, this card's going to go together pretty quickly. So because of that, you may want to spend a little time throwing some ink on some of the pieces. Maybe you don't want to ink the panels and you just want to do the flowers, that's fine. But the most important thing here is just to make sure that you're lining it up with the little shadow portion on this green piece, and everything should kind of fall into place. Okay, so that one's going to go there. This guy is going to go here. Okay, and I hit this with an orange ink. This is like a vanilla color. Just get a little bit of glue on there. Okay. And just match it up with the green piece there, like so. And then we've got this white little flower, which I hit with a lavender, and that's going to go, you can kind of see here, there's two little scallops right there. Let me see if you can see them. There you go. You can see the two little scallops there. Just want to match that up. Match two of these scallops up on the actual flower with that little shadow portion there. Okay, let's get that in place. Just match up two of them. The rest of it will just kind of fall into place like so. There we go. Okay, and then we're just going to repeat the same thing on the other side. And this thing is going to go together nice and quick for us. So again, just match it up with the green piece there. There we go. And grab our other one. All right. Just matching them up. That looks good. And our little white one there. Okay. Again, just look for the two little scallops there. Just match them up with the scallops on the flower and just push that in place. And there we go. Okay, now also these two flowers are not going to have any little centers, but these are, okay? And we have two large and two small that came out of your cuts there. And we're gonna just kind of mix and match the colors. I'm gonna use my little pick-me-up tool. I'm gonna grab the larger purple one, in my case purple. In your case it may be something different. And I'm just gonna throw a little bit of glue on that and pop that right in the center of our flower, like so. And I'm gonna grab my white one. And I'm gonna dab that because I think it was just a little too much there. And let's get that centered. That looks nice. And then I'm gonna alternate the smaller one here, the flower here that has the white one in the center. I'm gonna put the purple one on this side. Now, let me grab my X-Acto to help me get this off of my pick-me-up tool. There we go. And let's just nudge that over ever so slightly. Oops. Get that centered. I'm gonna have to reapply that. It's a little tough working with small shapes like this sometimes, but it's definitely doable. There we go. That looks good. And the last little piece here in the white. Okay, oops, where'd it go? There it is. Just the tiniest little drop of glue there. Okay, and let's get that right in the center. There we go. Okay, so these little inserts are ready to go. So again, what we're gonna do is you wanna make sure that the larger flowers are in the center of our little bouquet. And we're gonna glue this down so that you can see that there's a little straight section on this mint piece here. We want it to be below this horizon line, as I'll call it. Okay, so we can put our glue pretty much all the way up to about there. Okay, just make sure that this larger flower is towards the center and just stick that right in there. Make sure that you have it within the little score areas on the inside of this piece, and then you can lay this down flat to help with the gluing. Okay, and then let's do the same thing with the other one. Get our glue on this piece up to about there. And pop that in. Probably you want to eyeball it and make sure that you have them pretty much symmetrical, and then nudge this around until it's inside of the little scored area, so we're not obstructing its ability to bend. Okay, oops. All right, so there's our lovely little bouquet, or at least the front part of it, all right, which leaves this guy here. And we have two of these little tulips here. The two pink ones, in my case, are gonna go on the left and then the right side. And then the white one, which I inked with a nice, nice violet color, is gonna go in the center. And that one does have some score marks on it, so that it continues to allow this piece to bend and fold, since this is a part of the pop-up element. Okay, I did ink this also with a nice pink color, and it was really making it look more flower-like. So definitely, if you're gonna ink anything on this project, I would at least ink the flowers on it, because that really just makes them pop. Okay, and then we've got this piece here, and you want to go ahead and make sure you fold it in half, and then get your glue on there. All right, and I'm going to start by gluing it flat, and then I'm going to kind of work it around just to make sure that it continues to fold properly. This piece is a little bit bigger than the little area that we've provided for you to glue it on, so it should have no problem. Fitting that space. There we go. Okay, so that looks lovely. All right, so what we can go ahead and do at this point, we can go ahead and begin putting together the pop-up element. Okay, so this is going to be This is going to be the bottom of the card. You want these little flaps here more towards the bottom. It's going to open up like this. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to take this piece first and insert the tabs into the top notch, the top 2 notches there, like so. Okay, so just get those in there, just like that. And then you can close this up. And let's make sure that they're all the way through. Okay, and my other one kind of came out, but that's okay. Let's just get it in there. There we go. And we want to fold these back, or up, I should say. Okay, so I've got this folded now, and the tabs are coming, they're folding out this way. Okay, maybe pull it a little bit, just to make sure that it's all the way through. And then let's take a look at the other side real quick. All right, I'm kind of holding it with my thumbs here while I open it up. Okay, that's fine. It's good. So we've got the tabs through, and let's make sure that it's nice and centered. Should be able to bend it both ways. That way you know that you have it in the correct place. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of glue right on this tab, not too much. I'm going to spread that nice and thin, and I'm just going to push this over onto the actual card base and hold that down in place. And then on the other side, pull this through. Make sure you can kind of bend it both ways. That way you know it's all the way through. And just run my finger across that piece, that tab there, just to make sure that the glue is spread out nice and thin. That way it'll adhere a lot quicker. All right, and now we've got the first part of our pop-up in place. We want to maybe give that a second to really get a hold before we move on. Okay, and I'm just kind of training it, getting it used to the fact that it's going to open up like so. And that looks really pretty so far. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're going to go ahead and grab this next piece. And same thing, just going to take the little tabs, slide them through, hold it with your finger there. Okay, and then slide the other tab through as well, and hold that down with your finger. And make sure that those, okay, and we're going to fold this one over this way. So just make sure that that's holding nicely and that that's holding nicely. Okay, should be able to, again, fold it both ways. And I'm going to put glue on this piece here. Let's spread that nice and thin. We're going to be covering these 2 sides up with our little panels. So the little mechanisms that make all this happen will be covered up nicely and make everything look nice and seamless. Okay, let's flip this over and get our glue on this tab here. Let's spread that thin and fold it over, press down, get that to hold nicely. Beautiful. Okay, so let's take a look at the actual pop-up mechanism. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. That by itself, even without the inside, looks really cool. Okay, so now what's left is to put the fronts and backs on everything. Okay, so you can start with the outside, which is fine. Just remember which side is the front, which side is the back. Okay, now this panel piece, you're going to actually glue this up to the edge here. Okay, you can maybe bring it in a little bit, but then it's going to look kind of weird. So I would glue it right up to the edge and just make sure that you have a nice even border going the rest of the way around. Okay, so let's do that. Let's get our glue on our card, or on this panel, I should say. And again, make sure that you're getting it glued right up to the edge and that you're also leaving a nice even border at the top and bottom. The rest of it should just fall into place nicely. I should get my brayer out. I'm kind of stuck. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Let's get this brayer out to help push this all down into place. And I didn't act quick enough. I may have to go back in, do a little cleanup here, which is fine. Let me grab a piece of scrap paper. You can see that I didn't act quick enough there to get my glue down, but luckily, just a scrap little piece of paper and some glue on it to save the day. We just slide it right under there and just paint the underside of our panel with a little extra glue. And then, actually it's probably easier if I just use my finger since it's somewhat uneven. And just hold those little areas that need a little TLC for just a few extra seconds until everything sets nicely for us. Okay, and I got this little area down here that I need to add a little bit more glue to as well. And just hold that down. There we go. Look at that. That's looking sharp. Okay, so that looks great. And what you're going to want to do is just repeat the same process on the back to cover up those tabs. So you get that glued down. I don't need to show you that. That's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, and all that's left to do now is decorate the inside. Okay, so what we're going to do is just get this aligned. You don't want it right up into the crease. You want to move it just a little bit out. Okay, and get that nice and aligned and in place. So let's just do that real quick. And we do have a matching envelope to go along. Ooh, what happened there, glue bottle? You got a little excited there. I'm gonna have to spread that out. Okay, yikes. That was odd, Mr. Glue. What are you doing to me? Okay, so let's get this guy in place. And again, you don't want it right up to the edge, but you want it kind of close. There we go. Nice even border all the way around, if you can handle it. Let me get my brayer here. It keeps it nice and flat for me. Okay, so that looks great. And then we've got these little pieces here to add a little contrast, and that's just going to get glued right into that little section there. So let's add our glue. It's almost like the bottle has a clog somewhere in the center, and it's keeping all the glue right up towards the top. Okay, so just get that nice and centered. Do your best. And position that right in there. Give it a roll. That is looking really sharp, guys. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and the other side. Very simple card, but very wow factor. And pretty quick. I mean, what I kind of like to do in my head is think about the fact that, you know, to get in the car, get dressed, go to the store, pick out a card, pay for it, drive back home, and all that time you could just make a card. And you can say, hey, I made that. It's not store-bought. And very few moms are going to get this, and they will love it because you made it. So definitely more fun and exciting to get a handmade card, in my opinion. And they are definitely even more unique than anything you'll find at the store. Okay, so that looks great. I might have a little area there that I might need to touch up. Nevertheless, I can always do that later on after I finish showing you guys how to get the rest of this thing done. Okay, that looks great. Let's just get that in place. Okay, look at that. There we go. So our card is pretty much done. All it's left to do is put our little caption right on the front here. And I'm just gonna go with a nice centered look on that. I'm gonna use some foam squares to give this thing some dimension. If you are mailing this, you may want to omit the foam squares, or in my case, foam circles, as it may not allow you to drop it in a mailbox. So actually, I wouldn't recommend you drop this in a mailbox anyway. I would have all these cards hand canceled and maybe even put them in a secondary envelope just to make sure they get there in one piece. Okay, and I'm going to stand up here just to make sure that I get this nice and centered. And I think that looks about right. Even if it's up just a tad, I think that's fine. That looks good. I've got some of these cute little bows here, which I'm gonna add. I think these are just pre-made, store-bought, tiny little bows. I'm gonna throw a nice little blue one down here on the bottom. I'm gonna hot glue that later, but just wanted to show you that we're gonna be adding that. And so there's your card, beautiful. Okay, and let's just take a look at our envelope real quick. It's a pretty quick construct. Okay, and the way this is gonna work is we're gonna take this piece and we're gonna glue it to the flap right here, like so. So you wanna go ahead and get your glue on the actual flap portion and get it into these little nooks here. Okay, and just kind of use and of course I folded all this already. Use the little score mark here as a guide for the placement of this, and then just fold it down. Just make sure that you have it centered and aligned nicely on both sides, and then just push that down. Okay. All right, there we go. That's good. And we've got two of these pieces here that we're going to add there. And actually, I should hit that with a little bit of pink to keep everything consistent here. So let's do that real quick. Where's my pink? There's my pink. And this time I'm using Color Box, which I don't use a lot of, but it seems to work nicely. I just don't have a pink like this in my Memento style inks, so it's kind of a hot pink. All my other pinks that I have by Dewdrop or Memento are a little more subdued and less intense, and I do have some pearlescent varieties and this and that, and I just I don't want to mess with that right now. I need something a little more bold. Okay, these thin areas here, you want to make sure you keep your fingers pretty close to the edge there so that you don't risk bending and creasing this piece. So what I'm showing you right here, as far as this inking, this is pretty much the same process I did throughout on even all the flowers. And for those of you that have watched previous videos, you've seen my inking style. And again, if you have your own inking style, or if you want more, or if you want less, there's no wrong or right way to do it. Just do what looks good to you. If it looks good to you, typically it'll look great to others, especially people that don't do this sort of thing ever. When they see a handmade card like this, they're usually pretty wowed by it, especially when you tell them that I made that. Okay, so I'm just kind of hitting this with a little bit of ink, because this is actually it is a solid core. Good job, Echo Park. Pretty sure that's Echo Park paper. It's a double dot, I think it's called. Okay, so just hitting that, a little bit of ink, create that nice little gradient effect, makes it a little more interesting. Okay, there we go, that's fine. All right, and we're just gonna take these and glue them to our nice purple color there. And then we'll close up our envelope and we'll be ready for Mother's Day. Yay. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to get my mom, or make my mom, a different card, because she's a huge Dreaming Tree fan. And she's probably gonna see this video and not be surprised by it. So I may just have to make another one in a different color. Okay, so that looks nice. And last one, and then we'll close up the envelope, test it out, make sure our card fits, and call it a day. So usually you can tell based on the length of the videos how long the assembly is going to take. Typically, I try not to edit too much and leave everything as is, unless there's like a lot of inking or something and something becomes very redundant. I don't like to make you guys watch me ink for an hour, so I leave that out and do that off camera as much as possible. Okay, let's get that nice and centered. Push that down. Looks like I got a little area there that I didn't get down as nicely as I would have liked. So I'm just going to use my makeshift paintbrush, as I'll call it here, and just paint a little bit of glue underneath that piece there that was coming up. Okay, perfect. All right, so that is a nice, lovely little envelope. And to finish it off, we're just going to take these two flaps and fold this one up. So all we need to do, and I'm going to make sure that I'm sparse on the glue with this. Sometimes when I make my envelopes, I notice that I go a little too heavy on the glue and it kind of warps sometimes, and it kind of see right through it, and I don't like that look. Okay, so that's about all the glue you need, and then I'm going to bray it to get it to stick nicely and spread that glue out. Okay, flatten the paper out nicely. There we go. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now this card, the envelope's not fully dry yet, so I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I do want to illustrate that the card fits beautifully. And there it is. Okay, so it is ready to go. Don't forget your little bow on the front if you decide you want to go that route. So that's really it, and you can see here the beautiful end result. I'm very happy with it. And it looks like, actually, this little, there we go. That little leaf was kind of hiding there. But there you go, a beautiful card, super quick to put together, very unique, has that wow factor that mom's gonna love. So I hope you enjoyed the process with me here. If you did, take a second to head over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. And if you do make the card, would love to see it. You can find us on Facebook by doing a search for Dreaming Tree Group. All of the wonderful dreamers are hanging out there, posting their work, and it's a very active community, so I hope you join us there. And again, hope you enjoyed the process, and I look forward to crafting with you again.
Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.